Hi, this is Randy Randall of No Age and host of the podcast Hyphenate with Randy Randall. I want to welcome our newest sponsor of the show, DistroKid. DistroKid helps musicians get their music on all the major streaming platforms, and artists keep 100% of their royalties. Hyphenate listeners get 30% off at distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate. Again, that's distrokid.com/VIP/HYPHENATE. Go get your music streaming everywhere now.
And I was like, oh, I can just go to and spend an hour at the coffee shop and just make this. I'm addicted to it, man. I just love it. It's just like, goo-goosh, goo-goosh, goo-goosh.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to Hyphenate with me, your host, Randy Randall. I'm so proud to welcome the incredible artist Nathaniel Russell on my program today. Nathaniel is an incredible illustrator, artist, painter, printmaker, and as well, on top of that, he's hyphenated even further by becoming and being a singer-songwriter. And he has a new record called Songs Of that is out now on the awesome label Psychic Hotline. To go hear this music, you can go to any of your streamers and search Nathaniel Russell. You can also go to psychic-hotline.net, and there you can buy the physical editions. You get some olive green LPs that are limited to only 300 copies. You can also get the black LP, also limited, and it comes with all kinds of cool inserts and stuff. Nathaniel talks a little bit about it there. There's also cassette, and as well as being all over the streamers and the whatnots. So do yourself a favor. Go to psychic-hotline.net. Awesome label. Buy some of the other releases while you're there if you're feeling it. And don't forget, you can also go to nathanielrussell.com to check out all things Nathaniel Russell, his art, his illustrations, his printmaking, flyers. Yeah, he's an awesome dude. I met him originally when he so generously volunteered to help paint one of the 15 murals at my kids' elementary school 2 summers ago. Or was that last summer? It was just last summer. Oh my God. Time goes so fast. But it was last summer. Yeah, I worked with a few friends of this project they have called Operation Creative Freedom to bring world-class artists from all over the globe to our kids' elementary school, and they really transformed it. It was an incredible experience that I can get into more on another future episode, but that was how I first made the acquaintance of Nat, and he was awesome, and he still is awesome. So when we were talking about him having a new record, I just thought, hell yeah, let's talk about records, let's talk about art, let's talk all things Nat. So thank you, Nat, for coming on, and thank you for being out there listening. And don't forget to support arts and support artists and buy things from independent artists. If they got a website and they got their name on it, chances are it's a one-man show. They're doing it all themselves. So if there's ever something that strikes your fancy and you think, I got $5, I got $10, I got $20, hell, I even got $50, and I like it. And you don't have to, there's no other reason needed more than that. I like it. I got the money in my pocket. I want to support this cool artist. I want to support this cool musician doing stuff. I want to buy their record. I want to buy their t-shirt. I want to go buy tickets, go see their show, go have a good time. If I can say nothing else on the show, go support the arts. Everybody needs it. All these people out here are just waiting for you to come to the show, to buy their stuff, to engage with their art. If you like it, go do it. It's fun. You're never too old for it. I know it sucks. You got to get the babysitters, or it doesn't suck. You don't have to get the babysitters. I don't know. Whatever you're at in your life, there's a million reasons not to do cool things, but all you need is one reason to do the cool thing, and that's it. So let this be a friendly reminder, a nice hug from another creative to you, a creative person yourself, and a creative supporter. Go out there, buy some stuff, do something silly. Spend money on cool creative people because they sure could use your help. Nat, thanks so much for joining me here. How are you doing?
I'm good, my friend. How are you?
Very well. Yeah, just hanging out. I think we're both enjoying our different forms of winter. The LA winter is about 60 degrees with a light mist outside, and it just the whole city shuts down. But it looks like you have what might be referred to as a real winter happening there.
Well, it's Indiana, so it's weird. Like last week, it's like 75 degrees and sunny and beautiful, and now it's like 40 and overcast, and you know, it's so I don't know. We're actually on spring break right now, but it's so dismal.
Oh
It's like
no,
so I don't know. This
that's how it
weekend it's
goes.
supposed to be totally different. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was
So,
just in Chicago last week, and man, the wind was just biting. I'm just not
yeah,
built
man.
for that. My friends there asking like, "Well, did you bring your coat?" I'm like, "There's
Oh,
no
dude.
coats in LA." I mean, we get excited when it goes below 70 because you can put on a parka or a beanie. You don't look as I think we do it more for the fashion than we do for the function of it.
Yeah, man. Chicago's no joke. Chicago's no joke when it comes to that stuff.
There was
Even in this time of year, for sure.
yeah. So what part of Indiana are you in?
So I live in Indianapolis. It's
Okay,
the capital, kind of right there in the middle.
yeah,
It's like 3 hours from Chicago, 2 from Louisville, 2 from Cincinnati.
yep,
It's central.
yeah.
You
That's
know.
great. I feel like we've been there on tour. I think at some point
Yeah,
we've come
I
through.
feel like it most for much of my life, it's the place where people drive through. You know, but recently people stop and play shows here too, so it's cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
We'll kind of start at the beginning. I mean, we're going to talk about you have a new record coming out, which is incredible. Thank you so much for sharing it with me. I dug
Oh,
into that, but I'd
thanks,
love
man.
to kind of start at the beginning, sort of where your adventure. You're primarily known as an artist and printmaker, and music is sort of an extension of that, but also coming out of the skateboarding culture. But tell me a little bit about how you first got started. Where did art first enter your life, and where did you grow up?
Well, so I grew up in Indianapolis. Well, south side of Indianapolis. I grew up on like it's called County Line Road, so it's like just into Johnson County. So just into like the suburb area of Indianapolis. Um, I was born in the late '70s, so I'm like Gen
Yeah.
Xer. Grew up, and just skateboarding and being into music and doing like latchkey kid stuff. But drawing stuff is just something I was always really into. I was always really into comic books and cartoons, and my uncle who lived in Texas, I thought he was a really cool guy. He was like, I remember him visiting once and him doing doing like a rolling handstand on like a skateboard, like
Sweet.
down the driveway, and I'm thinking like,
That's like stunt
13-year
skating.
old me.
That's not
I
even
know,
street
it's
skating. It's like
incredible,
something else entirely.
incredible.
Yeah.
He was really cool, and he could draw really well. He used to do like really cool pen and ink drawings and cartoons. So I don't know, maybe that's where some of that came from, but it was just something I could always do by myself, and I was always interested in it, and kept doing it. And it's kind of the one of the I don't know if it was the one thing, but the thing that I was good at that I just kept doing. And through high school and stuff, I was like, I'll just keep doing this as long as I can. Um, and I went to college in Muncie, Indiana,
Okay.
at Ball State University, which is like their claim to fame is like David Letterman went there.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, isn't it a David Letterman
Yeah,
thing? Yeah.
yeah, and like Joyce DeWitt, who was on Three's Company, she played piano. She
Dabba
went there.
dabba dee-boo. That's
Yeah,
amazing. Very relevant to
yeah,
the time. It's funny. You're the second guest I've had bring up David Letterman. LG from Thelma and the Sleaze said David Letterman called out her hometown in Illinois or Illinois as like the worst town in the country. And she said everyone took a lot of offense to it. It was like, but then he bought the town a gazebo
I
to like
bet.
make up
I
for
bet.
it or something. So there was a gazebo bought by the guy that insulted your town. So I think people who hated it even more. It was supposed to be a nice gesture, but he was
Dude, apology gazebo is a pretty strong move.
right.
I
Maybe,
mean,
maybe
you can't really turn that down.
that's what they teach you at Ball State. Make fun of them and
I
buy
know,
him a
man.
gazebo.
Dude, yeah, I mean, there's weird like pop cultural references to Muncie that pop up, like characters in like Coen Brothers movies are from there, or like
It sounds
a
good.
Simpsons character is from there.
It's a good name, Muncie.
It's
Yeah.
it was a cool college town because it was like kind of in the middle of no place. It's completely emptied out in the summers, but
It's
there's
fun.
like
College town
weirdos.
classic.
Yeah, good, solid weirdo base.
Do they have a great
And
sweatshirt that just says ball on it? Is there any kind of like testicular
of
like
course,
great college
yeah. There's
gear?
lots.
Yeah.
There's lots of ball U. It was known as a party school, but like I don't know. I don't have a lot of school spirit, but
Sure.
I had a fun time
But you
there. I
made it
met some
through.
cool people, and yeah, I loved it.
That's awesome.
But yeah, got really into printmaking there.
Hmm.
Like working on
Silkscreen.
presses and silkscreen. I was really, really into doing woodcut
Okay.
and lithography, and just got really into that like shop atmosphere of like staying up all night and like smelling the inks and
Oh
like,
God. Yeah.
you know, listening to John Coltrane really loud, and you know, is really cool. And it's had some cool weirdo teachers, and
That's great.
you know, that was cool. And you know, nutshell it. After college, I moved to like San Francisco area, Berkeley,
Oh, cool. Hold on.
and I
Well,
worked. And
before we get out of printmaking, though, I'm just so curious
sorry,
too,
sorry,
because no, it's great. We got time. We'll stretch out.
yeah, yeah,
This
yeah.
is the printmaking thing is so funny because it really is that like that Venn diagram of like tech and art, or like it's a craft, a craftsman style sort of thing. But within that, you know, it's like especially back then, it was pre computers, and graphic design was sort of stuff you did with your hands. And I feel like there
Right.
was a certain type of dying art to it, but I think it also is influenced so much. Like the feel of printmaking is still very active, even on things that
Yeah,
are made
it's. I
digitally.
mean, it's so much about the process, you know, and
Hmm.
so much about, you know, there's the creation part of it. Like I'm making this drawing, I'm making this piece, and then it's about putting it through this process, you
Hmm.
know. And I like to think about things like through music, and you know, I think about it. I think about printmaking sort of like if you're playing guitar and you have like a delay pedal and a distortion pedal, you're putting those notes through those pedals, you know,
Hmm.
and it becomes this thing that you don't control, and it becomes its own thing that you couldn't have made if you wanted to, because you don't. And that's what I think of it. It's like, oh, I have this drawing, but I'm gonna like put it through the woodcut pedal, and it becomes this other thing. And in a way, like selfishly, I get a kick out of that because it's more than me. It becomes this magical other thing, you know.
The interaction of transferring a pen and ink drawing from paper onto like carving it into the wood, and then laying the ink on that, and then putting the ink from the carved wood onto the paper. Now it's like it's gone. It's
right.
from your mind, but through your hands, passed through, translated, almost like a game of
And it's
telephone. By the end, it's something
exactly,
different.
exactly,
Yeah.
precisely, and it gets all these textures, and you know, even with like silkscreen. I mean, that's like that's a commercial process. Like
Hmm.
there's like a so-called like correct way to do that,
Oh,
you
right.
know,
Yeah.
and like, but there's this democratic part of, but let's say breaking things into flat colors and thinking about things in layers, transparencies. But what I really loved the most about printmaking was like the democratic aspect of it. Like I could make a picture and I could give it to all my friends, you know,
Yeah.
like I can make a painting and just stick it on my wall, and that's the only one. Or I could make a print and I could have 10 of them or 100 of them, and I could give them to people, and it became this less precious and like more accessible way to share art, you know. And then that ties so much into like music and like zines and DIY stuff. It's just like it's a way to make this art that it's more than you, and it can go anywhere, you know. It's
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, no, I think specifically at that time too. I think there was something about that kind of world, like you said, coming from zines and stickers, T-shirts, that kind of stuff, and having that with under your own power. Like I got a guy. Like I think now even still, it's like you need stickers, you need T-shirts. Like
Yeah.
Dean from the band No Age I play in, his mom owned a silkscreen shop, and now his brother runs it.
So
And so
cool.
he grew up always in the silkscreen shop. And when our band first started, it was a big part of like we have access 24/7 to free silkscreening stuff, and I'd never really been around that. Like I had a certain background with it in skateboarding. My older brother had a skateboard shop, and so we'd go buy all this stuff and sell it, and I'd hang out as the shop grom for years and
Yeah.
got to hang out
Oh,
there.
amazing. I didn't know that. That's
Yeah, that
cool.
was my when I was a real little kid. And but again, it's that same feeling of like just smelling new boards, like getting a whole like box of boards and opening that up, and that the cellophane and the smell of the ink on that
I
and
love it,
all that
man.
stuff. It's
Dude,
yeah.
I was at the copy shop this morning. Like I printed off actually printed off a bunch of these. Like I had this idea for like a last minute insert for
Mhm.
the record that's
Oh yeah.
coming out. And I was like, oh, I can just go to and spend an hour at the copy shop and just make this.
It's
I'm addicted to it, man. I
yeah.
just love it. It's just like gagoosh, gagoosh, gagoosh. Like
Yeah.
and and you know, my records are going to show up any day, but now I have this last minute idea, like, oh, I can go do it. And
Put it all in.
I love that process of just like
The tangible
making things in office
ideas.
supplies, man.
Yeah,
Stuff,
right.
you
I
know?
know there's something so exciting about that. Yeah, we have. Yeah, Dean also used to have a code, like the cheat code at Kinko's. You know, like the employee code. I think it's all changed to different machines now. But there was back in the day, you could punch in a code, and all
Yeah,
copies were free. So a lot of the early no age flyers and zines and different ideas, stickers. Let's like sticker paper, stuff. We would just go
yeah,
down there, and there was again, but it always happens late at night, and you're just kind of,
yeah,
we weren't really drinking at that point, and so it was kind of just like kids with keys to the candy store, like, let's just go make stuff, let's just go make art.
yeah,
Then you'll find out,
yeah,
you don't know what it's going to be till you leave, and like, I think I made these rad collages or these weird
yeah.
things.
You just never
Yeah,
know what's gonna turn up or what the next door that's gonna open if you don't open that door and just mess around. I don't know.
the
Yeah,
process. Yeah, yeah.
all the good stuff comes from play and from experimenting.
Finding it. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we'll jump back in. I just wanted to have a sidebar chat about printmaking and that,
No,
the kind
I
of the
mean, and
creative sort of inspiration with that.
that's actually one of the reasons I went to the Bay Area is, I kind of wanted an excuse in my head to go somewhere. And there's a really cool printmaking center workshop in Berkeley. It's called Kala Art Institute. And my old printmaking professor told me about it. And I kind of wrote them. It's like, hey, can I come be a member at the workshop? And you had to apply and do all this. It was basically like, okay, I'm signing up for this. I'm going to go do it. And then I'm just going to, whatever, get a job. And I'm going to go make prints there because this is something I know how to do. I can engage with art and maybe meet people. And it's since grown into a bigger like building and a bigger thing. But man, it was amazing. Like going there from Indiana. Like I remember, like once you cross the Sierras, like it just smells different. Like you smell the trees and like um, it's just a magical thing. So, and this place it was in the old Heinz ketchup factory
Oh,
building with like, so there's still like an old like 57 like
amazing.
carved
In the
into the,
city, like in the city side, or
in,
in
in
Oakland? Oh,
Berkeley.
in
It was
Berkeley.
like,
Okay, sorry.
yeah, so it
Yeah,
was like San Pablo and Ashby. So, kind of like West Berkeley, um, South Berkeley, I guess that's what it is. But like, it's right 2 blocks away from like Fantasy Studio. So like, I would like be skateboarding to the studio and be like, I know that. Wait, Fantasy Studios, like it's where like CCR, like it's just cool to see this stuff like in real life.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, and I got a job at a record store there, and
Which one?
it's called Mod Lang. It's
Oh,
not
okay.
there anymore.
All right.
It was right on University in Berkeley. They specialized in like import. This is like pre-download stuff, so it was like when stuff came out in Europe, it came out here too because one of the owners was from England, and but
That's incredible.
it was full on like great record store gig, grad school, like
Yeah.
learning about stuff.
Take it to the next level. Like, here we go. Here's first pressings. Here's what this looks like.
Yeah,
Here's what the import looks like. Here's the B sides that never
yeah,
got put out here. I always
yeah,
remember
and
that with like
it
the
was like
Smiths. The Smiths records were always hard
yeah.
to get. Like, the U.S. pressing was so different than the European ones or the British ones.
Yeah, that was a big part of their whole deal. Was like they were really into like it was this is a European only thing, like UK only. You cannot get it here for at least another few months. But then one of the owners was also super into like 60s, 70s, like psychedelic and folk, and just like this whole world that I was interested in but didn't know anything about. So it was super educational, and I mean, it was one of the best jobs I ever had. It was like classic mom and pop um, store.
Yeah.
But living out there, ended up living with two people that became like my lifelong friends, and built such a wonderful community there of like musicians and artists and people just helping each other out with music and posters, and um, it was a beautiful thing. And then maybe like 10 years ago at this point, maybe more, I moved back to Indiana, um, because just people in my family getting old, getting sick, and I wanted to come back and be around. And I thought I'd be here for 6 months, and now I live here, you know how it goes.
That's how life,
But
yeah, how life can be sometimes.
but it's but it's great. I mean, Indiana's cool.
Yeah.
It's
Well, it's your
you can
roots.
afford.
You can,
Yeah, and I can live in a house here, and I can, you
yeah.
know,
Well, I'm sure Berkeley was getting harder and harder to, that's just the way that city's gone, or that area's gone. Kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
the money sort of changed a lot of it around.
Yeah, it's real different, and I'm excited to go back. It's the first time I've been back in like 5 years.
Oh, cool. Right, right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
That's the trip.
excited. I'm excited to see some people.
And then were you playing music the whole time that you were doing, kind of fine arts and printmaking stuff while you were in the Bay
Well,
Area, or where does music kind of fit as,
yeah,
other
I
than
mean,
as a fan, like as a creator, what was that journey?
well, I grew up just like music was like it's such a way to just also define yourself. Like growing up, like all right, I'm gonna stay up and watch 120 minutes, and I'm gonna like this is what I'm into, and just being so passionate about like finding new music and researching stuff and like seeing ads and like a skateboard magazine or like a sticker on somebody's board and being like what is so like it was so mysterious, um like I remember being there was a skate shop in Kokomo that sold tapes too, which was really weird at the time. But they sold like I just remember seeing like a fire hose tape and being like, I don't know what that is, but it's so cool. Like I kind of remember from like a skate video, but that being such an important part of just like discovering yourself like through music and um, and I tried to play bass like in one of my like we had like a little band like some friends of mine had like a punk band but I wasn't good, and then I like broke my arm skating, and I think that was the excuse to like, hey, we're actually going to be a good band, and like they went on did their thing. Um, but I always wanted to, but I don't know that I ever like saw like music or heard music that felt like something that I could do.
Hmm.
It was like you listen to some of these bands, and it's just like it's so amazing and beautiful, but there's no way that I could do that. But like in college or like after high school I started like discovering like indie rock, like getting a Sebado tape and being like, this sounds like this sounds like shit, man. I bet I could do this, Like,
God
um,
bless Lou
it,
Barlow.
I mean,
Make it.
it's deceptive because it's not. It's still beyond my skill level, but it's the way that it sounds is so accessible that it's like this sounds shitty. I bet I could do this. It's like it's a lot easier to. I'm sorry, I'm trying to change this.
Oh, that's all right.
It's so much. It's like, oh, I could write a song like this on Sebado 3, but I'm not gonna like listen to like a Nick Drake record and be like, oh, I could do that. Like it's
Yeah.
totally different. So
It's
I think when I was like 20, my roommate let me have access to his like electric guitar, and of course, at like the same day that I got his electric guitar, like I bought a 4-track, and it was because that was like
yeah.
my example, and just like that's where it started. Just like, okay, I'm gonna try to do this, and and then like try to write songs, try to come up with stuff, and over the course of years, it's like, oh, this actually sounds like a song, and this sounds like something I could play in front of people, and like somehow have the delusion that like I could do this too,
It's
and
amazing.
trying to like walk the walk. If you talk about like anybody can play music, it is democratic. Like there is no wrong music. Well then do it.
Yeah.
Like put your money where your mouth is. So, and that I feel like that led me to here, where I am still, I think like anybody, I'm still filled with like, self doubt and self consciousness and stuff. But I know enough about art and music and life and the world to be like, oh, it doesn't matter. You should just make your music, do what, do
Yeah.
what's real to you, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Also, I'm going to pause real quick. I I hear
Sure.
the mic on your thing rubbing on the jacket.
Sorry.
I'm wondering
Okay.
if there's a, you don't necessarily have to hold it, but just put on something soft.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was listening and then listening. I'm like, wait, I think I'm hearing something. Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
It's, is
Maybe I
that
should just take this coat off.
if it's warm enough where you're at? I don't want you to
Oh yeah.
get
No,
too
it's
cold
fine. This
before you
is
trip.
better.
Yeah, if that's okay with you.
No,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is cool. Yeah,
that'll
that's
help.
cool.
Okay,
That's cool.
cool, cool. I just want to make sure
All
everyone
right.
can hear what we were saying.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, say, speaking on the idea of music being democratic, it's a funny one, but because I think you know, the thing I run into a lot, or even just thinking about like being a hyphenate, you know, that's sort of the theme of the show is, but it's like, as much as we all do, you know, we wear many hats all at once. It usually some things just come better, or some things, you know, you just find yourself spending
Right.
more attention on, you know, as much as, you
Right.
know, it feels there's always one thing that sort of takes precedent, and everything else can, it plays in support of that, or can kind of, you know, be there's one thing you feel you're good at, I guess is what I'm saying, whether or
Right.
not other people recognize it, you know,
Oh, for
but
sure.
you get the acknowledgement, and you kind of figure out a groove, if anything, like between the more I make of this, the more positive feedback I'm getting. I think this is my zone. Like, we're just as easily, you know, a sliding doors kind of moment. Like, you could have gotten praised for some, you know, for something else at an early age. I'm like, all right, I think that the more I do it, the better, you know, the more I get out of that. I think that's
Exactly.
some of those
It's like
journeys
the
as a
butter.
kid. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of like that butterfly thing, you know, like somebody liked this drawing I did when I was 12, and that like meant that I'm going to spend my entire life doing that. But no,
Incredible.
it's
Yeah.
true. It's like
How
I'm I'm
influential.
I'm
Yep.
I've spent enough time in the making art world and showing art to people world and sharing that and like navigating all that, that I'm comfortable enough, or at least numb and immune enough to like
Yeah.
to you know, like the self-consciousness or like all that stuff, that like I feel really comfortable in that. And in a way, that's what's I like about music so much, is like it's not how I try to make a living. It it's not something that I know everything about. Not that I know everything about art, but you know, it's not. I still there's still that so much is a struggle and a challenge and mysterious to me about it, that it's almost like it's this. It's a way to make art being really fun and new again. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so I feel really grateful that I I have this music stuff to like explore and try out and learn from, that's not tied to like this more established creative act, that I've just like been really ambitious in and tried really hard to like uh, put my life into, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
There's something about connecting with that first kind of innocence of something that's just feels li- like there's the challenge part of it, you know, of working in a new medium, but also that kind of awakening of like, this is fun. Like, just being bad at something can be
yeah,
fun. And I think so
yeah,
often it's unfortunate that the longer you do something, you almost, bore yourself into like proficiency. Like, I am so
yeah,
proficient at this that I'm no longer, it takes a lot to kind of get excited about the thing, you know, and like
yeah, yeah.
you've studied it inside and out, turned it around a million ways, and like I know what it does and what it doesn't do. I'm not excited about it.
It's true. Like I think about that when I do drawings a lot too, like trying to get excited about something or trying to like surprise myself again, and um, giving myself like little challenges. Like if I'm drawing a person, I'm going to start from the feet, you know,
Right.
because that like changes all the, you know, these little, that changes the whole proportion and changes the feel of it. And it is like a process discovery, or like drawing with a tool that I don't have a lot of control over, or like with my left hand or so, you know,
Yeah, shake
there's
it
a
up.
lot of ways to like handicap yourself. And, you know, and especially with music too, like I think with music and art, like I'm not really interested in like a demonstration of like virtuosity, you know.
Hmm.
It's more about like how what's with the tools that you have, or the skills you have, or the approach you have, like what's the most pure and like simple expression of this idea or this feeling, or like how do you get there, like with stripping away the virtuosity, with stripping away decoration, and that's really interesting to me. And I think about those parallels in art and music a lot, like the stuff that I really respond to. And um, it's like almost like once you get over of like the once you get over this idea of like trying to show people how good you can draw, and you can just make a drawing look like it was easy and simple. That's that's where you it's like you're not ridding yourself of ego, but you're like ridding yourself of like this demonstrable, like this demonstration of like ability or something,
Right,
you know.
right.
Um,
That's, yeah,
if
which
that
is
makes
something so different. Again, it's that Venn diagram of craftsmanship versus expression, or what, you know, questioning the intentions behind
right,
why the art is being made. And I think about that, you know, in
right,
music too. I was like, sometimes I'm just you're just, being a fan of pedals and things. I could just demonstrate the pedal, but there's no real art to
Right.
that. I'm just feeding things
Right.
in and to see what comes out. But depending on the experimental sort of situation of it, you can almost then comes into process art where you're like, okay, I'm going to feed in this note and without knowing what's going to come out the other side. You can kind of play
Yeah.
with the tools in those sort of ways. But once I think so much about technique too. I think when you were talking about virtuosity, like, what at some point, you're anybody's process can just become a technique, and then from there, it's a series of processes that you use to sort of achieve a goal. But
Right.
but what is it all? It's the intention, I think, is really what speaks, what comes through anything as an artist's intention. Like, can you feel that? What comes out of it?
Yeah, and if virtuosity is it like in service of this idea, or if like if you know what, if the song demands some like Steve Vai like meltdowns going on,
Yeah, that's
melt
higher.
melt down, my friend,
Yeah,
but like you know and I think there's also, I don't know, I there's all, and there's no, it's not a black and white like thing, it's not
yeah,
either or, it's like what I find myself drawn to is like drawing less, like how can I draw the least amount but still get across this feeling,
yeah.
and some people
Refinement.
can do that, with like a voice, they just can say a word and it's like the history of pain in their life,
Yeah,
and so it's I don't know, it's a never ending exploration, I feel
it's the
like.
challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want.
Yeah, man.
Speaking of that too, I wanted to get into the story of this record. So
Oh,
this
yeah.
is your first release, or where
No,
does this
no,
record find
no.
you? No,
So
so
it's a little. It's not. I think of it as more convoluted than it really is.
yeah.
But when I lived in California, I did make a record. I had a band called Birds of America,
Mhm.
and it was songs that I wrote. And my good friend Sam Flax played with me. He helped me record this record in our apartment, um, and we played together for many years. And then when I moved back to Indiana, we had a great time. Played a lot of shows. Like got to play like in Big Sur and all this. It was beautiful.
But it was under the name of
Um,
Birds of America, wasn't? Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right, right. And then I came back to came back to Indiana, and the real America, and still wanted to play music, but like I don't really have the community of people. So I made another record that was it was just under my name,
Okay.
but it was definitely like, all right, got an 8-track cassette player in the basement. I'm gonna play everything. I'm gonna make these songs, and there was a few cassette things here and there too. But I tell you what, and that was like 2013 or 2015. I made that record, but in between now and then, in between like playing music and writing songs, and now, a whole life has happened. Like people have died. I've welcomed 2 children into this world. Like I've, I have I have a wife. I have, I'm like a grown up, and really what I keep playing music, but I keep coming back to, like, I would play music for my kids and I would sing to them at night before bed. That was like our thing. But dude, I've never been a person who knows cover songs. Like I couldn't sit down and play a Beatles song, really. Number
Hmm.
one, those are really hard to play. But uh, number two, like I just don't remember words and chords and stuff that well. So I would just play my own songs and I would sing my own songs. And over the years, it turned into like these same 10, 15, 20 songs of mine that I would sing to them, and just became sort of like like pieces of furniture in our house, like familiar tunes in our house, like our folk songs,
Hmm.
but they also like fit together like thematically, and like, if you zoom out on a body of work that you make, you can then see like some of the threads that connect, and maybe there's some ideas that like run through your life, or like these interests and concerns that connect with the 20-year-old you and the 45-year-old you.
Hmm.
And I started thinking about this, and I started thinking about, I had this idea for like I had this idea, I get the New Yorker, and my son loves to look at the cartoons in the New Yorker, and always looking at them.
Oh yeah.
And And I thought a really good idea for a New Yorker cartoon would be like, there's a funeral, like at a funeral home, but over to the side of the room, there's like a merch table, like a souvenir stand. And there's like souvenir t-shirts of that person's life, you know,
Mm-hmm.
or like the big poster of like, you know, celebrating whose ever funeral that is. But there's also like a zine of of some dumb things they did in their life, and there's like a book of all the art they made, and then there's like a record of their songs that they wrote, and there's this, and but there's like in the cartoon there's like a bored teenager like on their phone like working the table, and just the idea of like a souvenir stand at a funeral was funny and dark to me. But then of course I'm like, well, what would my record? I want to do that. Like, I would love to have a merch table when I die of just like a record of like what I did while I was here. You know, it's sad but beautiful, and I was like, oh, I want to make that record. And I think that kind of goes along with this idea of these personal, like these personal stories and of my life that have sort of collected. I want to make that record, like for just I want to make that record. And you know, my friend Amelia Meath is an amazing musician, songwriter, singer, uh, and I was talking to her about it, and kind of in the you know, uh, in the moment, I was like, Amelia, I want to make this record with you. Like, I want you to produce this record. And almost immediately, she was like, okay, let's do it. And I was like, oh, you know, um, and we just talked on the phone about it for a really long time, like for months, you know, just kind of like working up to it. Like, when can we do it? Um, she and her partner also have, you know, they're successful musicians, and they've been able to create this beautiful space to record music and make music, and they have this. It's like really community based. This situation they have in Durham, so I was able to go there and set aside a week, 9 days to make this,
And that's
it was incredible.
Sylvanesso is their band, right?
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
She's in Sylvanesso. She's in a band called Mountain Man.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she's in a band called the A's. Um, and she's done a lot of stuff. But she and her partner Nick are good friends and just amazing people. And but yeah, went out there, uh, and Allie Rogers was sort of she's the engineer. She
Mm-hmm.
recorded it, and we just sat out there and like figured out. Amelia and Allie had ideas of how to approach things, and Amelia brought in some friends of hers that I met there that are incredible musicians. Joe Westerland, he's a percussionist, um, amazing person, amazing, incredible musician. Matt Douglas, who played like saxophone and clarinet. He plays with like he plays a lot of people. He plays in Mountain Goats and lots of people. And then of course Nick Sanborn. We were all just kind of staying out there together. And whenever we needed Nick, you know, it was like he would come in and he virtuosity, like he's a virtuoso technical musician. Almost anything. So he played piano and organ and bass. He's just a real force, you know. So, but it all came together, and it was. I mean, it was a beautiful thing, you know.
Yeah.
It's like it's probably the best, most satisfying creative experience of my life that whole week, because it was like all we did was work on this, you know, in the woods. It was incredible. It
That's
looked like this, like looking out the window. It was incredible.
it's amazing. Well, the result is there in the record. I mean, you know, there's so many brilliant songs. You know, really,
Well, I
really just kind of
appreciate that, man.
stripped down, but but every instrument that's there feels very purposeful. You know what I mean? When you hear like the sax kind of creeps in and like, yep, that should be there. Yep, all of these things, the piano stuff, you know what I mean? It all feels like it's very well thought out and like,
Yeah, I mean, and I think there was a lot of room. Like Amelia she had a lot of. I mean, she produced it, you know, like she really had ideas of how things should be, but so much of it was about also just like putting ourselves in this space to come up with stuff and to do stuff when it felt exciting in the moment. Like I remember the first day recording, dude. I've never recorded in a recording studio before, you know.
it can be overwhelming.
So I went in
Yeah.
there, and they're like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I was like, "Ah, we'll just start off with this one. This is I know that I've played this a million times." And we're like, "Let's do the room mic." And I get my guitar out, and dude, I just I can't, like, I'm croaking. Like, I'm like embarrassed, you know, like, I'm like, this sucks, you know, like I can't do this. And then we just like immediately pivoted into this other song that I didn't even send to her as like a demo or anything. I was like, I kind of have part of a song, and she immediately was like, let's do that. Let's go do it. Record it. And we just like built it up from there, and we created this sort of like it's like this nature psychedelic song with just voices and guitars. And that was like the first day, and it was just like such a cool like momentum, like okay, oh well, however I whatever my expectation was is now this is going to be something completely different, and like opening yourself up to collaboration, opening yourself up to just be in the moment and make this thing with people was is it was pretty incredible, you know.
It's important to feel safe in those kind of situations too. That you know what
Oh
I mean.
yeah.
That you're with a team that kind of has your back, and that you're not, you know, just being
Oh
hung out to
yeah, I
dry.
mean,
You know.
and you know, I've I've mentioned it a couple of times before, but dude, I have these like intrusive negative imposter thoughts constantly about everything in my life, much less music, where I'm sitting in this beautiful recording studio around these incredibly accomplished musicians, you know. But it was such a warm, like just environment, you know. And we just, like I said, we lived out there. Amelia, Nick, and I lived out there for the week, and people would come in, and we had a birthday party at one point, and just making dinner every night. And it was just, it was, man, it was like a family vacation. It was exactly, I just can't imagine doing it any other way, you know?
Yeah, well, it sounds like a dream for sure, and it's yeah. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
the idea too. I keep coming back to this idea of the you know the merch table at the funeral. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hilarious. But I think you know what I mean. If you go to enough
Yeah.
shows, you sort of understand the paradigm of what that means. You know, sort of like
Right.
here's what we got. You know, and
Yeah, exactly. You know, and for me, it was like, I, I, I love humor. Like that's such a huge part of like how I live my life and my part of my art. And but like I'm so as much as I'm into laughing and being happy, I'm also so into like exploring, like not necessarily just like darkness and being sad, but like not veering away from feelings of like of you know just being a human, you know, and grief and struggle and challenge and finding these like slivers of beauty and like uh, like gripping the infinite, you know, in like these little moments, you know, like the heaviest of the heavy. And uh, I don't know, there's like a lot of vulnerability there too. But I'm a big something I've thought about a lot, like in this process, because the process of wrapping my head around this whole thing it continues. It's like, I mean, dude, I'm not 25 years old, you know,
yeah,
but I'm I'm in my 40s and I'm making a record, you know, to like essentially like I'm singing my songs and putting them out there. But it's like it's almost like this reverse DIY, like a reverse punk thing, you know, where I'm like people who are like in who are considered maybe too old or past the time where they could be doing stuff. It's like people need to be creative and make things and grow their entire life. Like I want to hear what my friend's record's going to sound like when they're 65 and have more experience and lived through more of these things. Like what kind of poetry are they going to write? Like what kind of sounds are going to come out of them, you know? And um, I'm I love it, man. You know,
yeah.
I feel like it's a lifelong process of creation is what we're here for, you know?
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. I was talking with a friend, and you know, I never really sang, excuse me, in any of my like musical projects. But you know, as the years have gone on, I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna start barking on songs or do something. You know, just
Yeah.
because it's like if it doesn't sound good now, it's not gonna sound any better the older I get.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You know, there was this, I forget what, I think it was some skateboard brand. I can't remember if it was like Tracker or like Powell. Maybe it was Powell. I don't know. They had an ad. I remember when I was a kid, it just said, "Don't die wondering,"
Oh
you know?
shit,
And
yeah,
I'm just like,
that's heavy.
I think about that all the time, you know? And I'm like, I even, I did a drawing one time. It was like a grave, you know, You ever read like Breakfast of Champions, Kurt Vonnegut,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
he draws these headstones, and it says everything was beautiful, nothing hurt. Like, and I did all these drawings of like headstones with like little words on them, and one of them was, "I wish I'd sung more," you
Oh
know.
God,
And
yeah.
it's like, I don't want that. I don't want that on my headstone, man. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, this is it. This is the time to
let's
do it.
sing
You know, if
now.
you got it,
Let's
yeah, now's the why wait. Or that's the other thing too, or even like the idea of people having funerals while they're still alive. It's like don't wait till I die to tell
yeah.
me how much you loved me, like or how much. I'm not going to wait till you die to tell you I love you. You know what I mean? That's like you got to do that stuff while you're around. You go to enough funerals, and you start to realize like, oh, there's stuff to be done here while we're here. You know what I
And
mean?
yeah, man, and I feel like that's really liberating in a way too, because it's like, you know, dude, we could be dust any moment.
Yeah.
Like this is, and when we are, it's going to feel like it went like that. And it's in that way. Yeah. It's important to do what's important to you. And that doesn't have to be, I'm going to make a record. It could be, I'm going to make good food. I'm going to spend time with my kid. I'm going to try to be a good person. But it's like, it's liberating because you realize, yeah, man, we're all gonna be dust. It doesn't matter. Like
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter if you're embarrassed or you don't feel like you're good enough. It doesn't matter if now's the time. You should just do it. You're not gonna. I mean, it's like that thing. It's like nobody ever said they wish they would have spent more time at work.
Right. Yeah. 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 No, it's, yeah, I think that's really one of those legacies I think we take from punk and sort of DIY skate culture, that sort of thing of like,
Yeah,
from the shortest distance you can put from idea to execution is
yeah,
usually like a recipe for some type of satisfaction. Maybe not necessarily happiness, but a certain level of satisfaction and knowledge of like, I have this idea. How quickly or how short can I make the route to executing it? And usually along
yeah,
the way you meet somebody or you find something else out or you've discovered something else or you know what I mean, that even if you never satisfy that first idea, the process of going chasing after it is gonna uncover something else. If not, you know what I mean, get you there. That's almost the most boring thing. Like, oh, I want to do this thing and I just did it. But normally what would happen is well, I don't have the money to do that. So I'm going to talk to these three people and I'm going to figure out how to get this and do that and work with them and do this. And now you've created a life and a community.
yeah. And now you have a community.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's like, I mean, that's why I'm talking to you. You
Yeah,
know, it's like
totally.
I met you because we worked on this school mural
Yeah.
project, and but at the same time, you're also tied into other friends of mine. Like you played music for Thomas's movies,
Right.
and I know
Yeah.
Thomas because of this other thing. And so it's like we're all connected in this thing of like just trying to do stuff and trying to make these beautiful things. And sometimes that beautiful thing is like, yeah, organizing the food for the mural painters at the school, and sometimes it's making a movie. And I don't know, man.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing about making art and making music and being creative in general. Is like, yeah, it's really cool to make a good picture like that. That's really feels good, but it, the best part is hanging out with your buds and meeting people and sitting in a parking lot eating pizza, man. That's the stuff right there.
Yeah, it's the
You
things
know?
you do along the way, right? It's like
Right.
yeah. No, it's so cool. Well, I'm so glad we got to sit down and talk about it. I want to think, where do people find more about you? How do people get the record? Are you going to be playing live? What's the next live
Yeah,
for the record stuff too?
y- yeah, I love to play music live. It's one of my favorite things, but I don't have a huge interest in like, I don't know. What am I going to go? I'm not going to go book like a club tour. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not. I love playing like DIY spaces and like art galleries and like bookstores and stuff like that. And I'm working on some like performances where it's like I have some projections, I play music, I talk about making music, I talk about art, sort of like this like performance lecture sort of a thing. But I'm kind of working on. But yeah, I'm playing at a place here in Indianapolis, State Street Pub in May, and then I always play this. Or I go and work at this music festival called Thing in the Spring. It's out in New Hampshire, and I make like stage sets and backdrops, and usually play music. So I'm going to play at a place called Everything Nice in New York on the way out there, and then hopefully in the late summer, early fall, I'm going to come to the West Coast and kind of play some spots in Portland and San Francisco and LA and wherever else I can sort of pop in there. I love to play music, and I want to do that for people. And I really want to serve and honor this project that we made together. But the best place to find out about it is, Nathaniel. Pretty easy to Google, NathanielRussell.com. I have an Instagram, and a Bandcamp and all that. But there's the label that's putting out my record is called Psychic Hotline, and it's a beautiful, wonderful garden of a record label, and they're doing a lot to like help me promote it and put it where people can find it. But
that's great. I'll have all the links in the show notes, so down below, anybody listening to this can go click on any of those links on the show notes and go buy the record, go see everything, see where they can see you when you're coming to their town.
Cool. Well, man, I appreciate you taking the time and listening.
Oh, dude,
and
thank you.
It's nice to talk to you about this kind of stuff.
Oh, I'm so glad.
It went quick. I feel like I could go on, but part two.
Yeah. No, I'm so excited. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to keep you. I know you got more stuff going on. You're getting ready for the big trip coming out.
Oh yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Nat. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you, Randy. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Yes, Nat Russell. How awesome is he, right? I love this man. He has a new record that is out on Psychic Hotline right now. You can find it at psychic-hotline.net. The record is called Songs Of, and it's available on LP, green, black, and cassette. It's also up on all the streamers, on the Bandcamps. You can also go to NathanielRussell.com. That is NathanielRussell.com, and you can get the record there. You get artwork, you can get illustration, design, fake flyers, all the fun stuff that he does. Oh, he's got a hat. I like this softness hat. I'm gonna have to get one of those. Oh, it's sold out. Okay, well, maybe he'll have more stuff. I imagine he'll have more stuff up. We'll tell him. Everybody use his contact page to tell him to get more stuff up there, because we want to buy more things from him. Amazing. Well, I will see all of you on Monday. Thank you for tuning in, downloading, finding it. If anybody has friends out there that they think would like this show, let them know. Why not, right? I don't have a whole like and subscribe vibe going on, but, in general, if you're enjoying this thing and you think your friends would, tell them. That's how I've learned about most of the podcasts I listen to, is by somebody saying, hey, did you check this thing out? And I'm usually like, yeah, I don't know about your taste. I don't know if I like what you're suggesting. But then if I'm open-minded enough, or I'm looking for something, I have a hole in my podcast listening schedule, or the content seems compelling enough, I will certainly go out of my way. So any of your non-podcast listening friends or open-minded podcast listening friends, let them know. Tell them to check it out. See what they think. Maybe you'd have a conversation about it. Maybe let me know. You can always write hyphenate halftime@gmail.com, or find me on the Instagrams at Randy S. Randall, or as some people like to say, Randy's Randall. And let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of the show. Thoughts, comments, questions, queries. I'm open. And it's a fairly one-way relationship here, where I talk into this microphone from my garage, and you listen to it wherever you are in your earphones. But I'm down to chop it up. Let me know. I'm here. I don't know, just tell me what you're thinking, and then I'll get back to you. Maybe on the pod. Maybe not. We'll find out. Adios.
I mean, it's like that thing. It's like nobody ever said they wish they would have spent more time at work.